will fill my heart with your word, that I may praise your name, and I'll give glory to thee, my God.
For this study, it's important that you've already watched last week's video. I'll put a link up here for you to watch that. And if you're joining us in the middle of this study on Matthew 24, you might want to start back at part 1, and I'll put a link to that video right up here. Last week, we saw that Jesus didn't say the wicked would be left behind, but that the righteous would be left behind. If that just shocked you, you might want to go back and see how we drew that conclusion. Jesus said it, "I'm just the messenger." Moving forward, we've been left with a natural question. If the wicked are taken away, then what happens to the righteous who are left behind here on the earth? This question actually rises because we're assuming something. We are assuming that the ones who are left behind are being left for an indefinite period of time. So far in this study, we've primarily stayed in Matthew 24 to interpret its message. People tend to begin their study of a text by running all over the Bible, rather than looking for everything in that text that will help them understand it. We've gotten a very good understanding of what Jesus is saying here in Matthew 24, but now it's time to look at other texts about this same subject. We'll actually find a couple of his parables that help us with these people who are taken and left in Matthew 24. In Matthew chapter 13, verses 24 through 30, Jesus presented the parable of the tares. In that parable about his second coming, which is the subject at Matthew 24, 40 through 41, Jesus speaks of some being taken out first when he comes again. Jesus interpreted that parable for the disciples in Matthew 13, 37 through 43. Jesus said, "The one who sows the good seed is the Son of Man, and the field is the world. And as for the good seed, these are the sons of the kingdom, and the tares are the sons of the evil one. And the enemy who sowed them is the devil, and the harvest is the end of the age, and the reapers are angels. Therefore, just as the tares are gathered up and burned with fire, so shall it be at the end of the age. The Son of Man will send forth his angels, and they will gather out of his kingdom all stumbling blocks and those who commit lawlessness, and will cast them into the furnace of fire. In that place there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then the righteous will shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. He who has ears, let him hear." Now, just as we learned in Matthew 24, the wicked are taken first, which leaves the righteous behind. In Matthew 24, we have no indication of how long they are left. However, in this parable, we do. At a harvest, where the weeds are gathered and the good grain is left in the field, how long would that grain be left behind? You and I both know it's going to be gathered on the same day. So what is Jesus' point in Matthew 24, 40 through 41? When he says, "Then there shall be 2 men in the field, one will be taken and one will be left. 2 women will be grinding at the mill, one will be taken and one will be left." Jesus tells you in the very next verse. Verse 42 says, "Therefore be on the alert, for you do not know which day your Lord is coming." It's sudden. It's unexpected. The illustration of Jesus presents the feeling of shock that 2 people would be so close together, but one is taken and the other is left. He does not imply that the one left is left to wait for some distant future event. That is an assumption cleared up by the parable of the tares. Jesus also illustrated this with fish in Matthew 13, verses 47 through 50. In the parable of the dragnet, Jesus spoke of a net gathering good and bad fish. Those fish are sorted. In his explanation of the parable, he said, "So it will be at the end of the age. The angels shall come forth and take out the wicked from among the righteous, and will cast them into the furnace of fire. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth." The bad fish are taken from the good and destroyed. Let me ask you fishermen something. How long do you leave good fish lying around? You don't. Jesus taught that the righteous and wicked will be gathered at his coming. It will be a singular, sudden event, giving no warning to the wicked. That's very different from popular doctrines taught today. So we're going to look at a few other Bible passages in the coming weeks. Not because we doubt Jesus, he taught nothing but the truth. But what does the rest of the New Testament teach? Please join me next week as we study the second coming of Jesus Christ.